Hello, thank you for joining us for the CEM Top 10 Key Practice of Zoning. I'm Sally Hansen, the Classroom Engagement Model Content Lead and a PDF in Region 11. And I'm going to walk you through the key principles of zoning as an introduction or as a refresher, depending on your experience with Classroom Engagement Model. So our key principles for zoning as an evidence-based classroom management strategy that increase independence and engagement in learning is that we're going to divide both the physical environment as well as the routines within routines into zones. And for each of those components, our physical environment and our routines, we're going to plan and organize so that everyone knows where to be and what to do. Staff will have defined roles for each routine. Transitions will be planned and zoned, and we will see the opportunity for supporting engagement and learning when each area of our classroom has a staff member zoned to it, as well as each part of our routine, folks know what they should be doing. So let's take a look at how this works. You can start by self-reflecting, finding this on the CEM share site or talking to your coach. The evidence-based practices that help us with zoning are listed in the zoning self-reflection chart, and you can determine with what frequency you use these and if you need any support. So some of the benefits of using zoning is that by allowing one staff person in each zone, children are able to have their engagement supported. So if we all know where to be and what to do, we can focus more on supporting engagement and learning and less on classroom management. Benefits of zoning also include decreasing wait time by making sure the materials are ready prior to the arrival to that activity or to that center. Supervision is also ready when children arrive in a new area so that you can provide feedback, you can provide directions, you can already start engaging children in learning when you're there. We do enhance our independence and skill generalization, and we'll talk more about this, but if children are able to move from zone to zone and the adults stay, then children become more independent. I know some of you are thinking, what about those children who right now need a one-on-one support? Don't worry, we're going to talk about them. But we do see more skill generalization when children get to practice across adults. So if, for example, I'm a child who's working on asking, using words for requesting, if I have the chance to ask Dulcie and Angela at the art table, and then I can ask Anne when I go to dramatic play. And then if I stop at the floor to play puzzles and I ask Tanya, I'm generalizing my skill of requesting across multiple adults in multiple routines of my day. And so that is a benefit for children who have learning delays, as well as those children who might be dual language learners. Additionally, when we talk about zoning at large group, we have some specific tips and strategies. One adult will be the show, and that is the person who is going to keep moving through large group time, engaging all children along the way. And then the monitors will be supporting individual child engagement. And we'll take a look at how this plays out in a slide coming right up. So the first thing we zone when we dive into this is we zone our physical environment so that during child-directed times of the day, we know which adult will be where in the classroom. And then from there, we can create a plan for what everyone will be doing. So we want to designate zones in our classroom. We'd like to keep our zones sort of confined and not completely open. It should be clear to children where the divisions are to some extent. One tip we often give teams is to walk around on your knees so that you see the room the way the children do. For our children who are more easily distracted and therefore less likely to stay engaged in any particular activity, having less in their sight line can be very helpful. And so by using our shelves to break up our classroom, we decrease that running room, wrestling room, and we also increase the likelihood that children will stay engaged in the center activity that they're in. So on your own, when you have the opportunity, you can pause this recording now if this is a good time for you. Go ahead and zone out your classroom, looking at how you can increase engagement by creating those clearly defined zones in your classroom where an adult might be stationed, balancing the types of activities in a zone. So if you do happen to have 4 adults in the room, making sure that some of our adult directed activities will have an adult there. We might not want to have all of the messy adult centered activities in one zone. Many of you are working in classrooms with just 2 adults, and so you will only have 2 zones, and that will be fine as well. So if you need any help planning your zones, your coach is a great person to talk to. Once we have the physical layout zoned, then we look at each routine and we figure out for the routine, what is the role of each adult in the room? And that's where we look through. In the green columns, you see staff person A, staff person B, staff person C. Ultimately, at the end of your zoning chart activity, when you get there with your team, everyone should be able to say, I know where I need to be, and I know what my job is in this zone. I know what my job is in this routine. We often see that for teams who have completed zoning charts and have them posted, the substitute teachers appreciate this very much, because if staff person A is gone on Monday, we might shuffle staff person B over to that job and then ask our substitute to take on staff person B's responsibilities. And that way everyone's really clear and we have a much more seamless substitute day than we might have if we didn't have things documented and written down. So moving into large group time, we want to think about large group as two different roles. We have the show, that's the teacher who is leading the group time. Large group time is not an easy time of engagement for all children. Some children have difficulty focusing, maybe they have developmental delays, or they haven't experienced large group learning. Maybe they are dual language learners and they're not picking up on all of the other cues. And so the show's job really is to add all of those pieces of active participation to make sure that there's motor, there's something to look at, there's a verbal opportunity, it's interesting to the children, and there's a learning objective. And then the show must go on. So if in the show we have a little one who needs extra support, the person leading circle time does not stop to do that support. We keep going, and one of the monitors will prompt that child, redirect them, or help them get re-engaged. Monitors are going to move around in the back of the room. They're going to subtly prompt and redirect children so that they're engaged in learning. And when we say subtly, it means in a way that doesn't interrupt anyone else. If I'm the monitor and I'm over setting up the snack table and I notice that Jose needs some extra help, I certainly don't yell from the snack table, Jose, look at the book. I walk over, I whisper in his ear. I walk over, I show him a cue card. I tap him on the shoulder and redirect his attention. I might even get the show's attention to reinforce Jose's engagement as soon as he's able to re-engage with the book or re-engage with the activity. Maybe he'll get a turn to respond as that reinforcement. But if I'm louder than the show, then I'm distracting. So the monitor's job is to really kind of roll in, offer support, and roll out before anyone really knew you were there. Sometimes monitors are taking data for us. And one of the things that is really important is that this is a team discussion. So during our conversation as a team, creating our zoning plan, we decide who will be the show, who will be the monitors, and even within the monitors, if there's 2 additional staff members, will one of them have half of this circle and the other will have the other half? Will one of them be moving around behind the circle while the other is setting up the next activity? And all of those options make sense and are appropriate. You're going to do what is right for your classroom and your needs. So we often hear that for staff who are itinerant or coming and going, we wonder how to zone for them. And so what we suggest is that you create a zoning plan for each permanent staff member in your classroom. Those are the people who are there every day from start to finish. So in this example, we have a teacher and an assistant teacher as our consistent staff. So we have 2 zones set up, 2 things that are going to be taken care of during each routine of the day. And what we do have is ECSE staff that come for different activities. And so if we know, for example, that our occupational therapist will always come on Mondays for small group, then on Mondays we'll add an extra table activity, and the occupational therapist will lead that activity. We might put her target, his or her target children in that group, along with some peers who would be great peer models or good peer mediated leaders. So that's an idea that we can have. If we don't know when the itinerant staff member or related service provider might come, then we'll just expect that that person will join whatever center or whatever area the target child that they are planning to see and work with wherever they are. So if the ECSE teacher happens to come during center time, great. Then she joins whatever center Isaac is in so that she can provide Isaac with the direct support that he needs. If we happen to know that our speech language pathologist is really great at leading language-oriented circle times, maybe we'll have her come and lead that departure circle. It will be good for the children on her caseload and also good for all children. And when all children increase their language skills, we have better peer models for the children who need that extra support. So that's an option as well. And you can talk with your team about what makes sense for you. The last question we get about zoning most frequently is, how can we do zoning for children who need at this time extra support or have a one-on-one paraprofessional written into their plan? So the first thing I want to say is we always trust our IEP teams. And if the IEP team has noted that a child needs one-on-one support, then we'll follow that. We also want to be working towards the least amount of support a child needs to be successful. The more you implement classroom engagement model, the fewer children will need one-on-one support throughout the day. You'll have more engaging routines. You'll have more intentional embedding of goals. You'll have more intentional zoning strategies in place, and fewer children will need that extra support. But in the meantime, a few things you can do. One is to rotate that one-on-one assistance across adults throughout the day. Remember back to what we said about generalization and that it's important to practice the skill with different adults. Also helps with meaningful inclusion and knowing that all adults can support all children. Another thing we can do is start by zoning during a routine where the child is successful. So maybe the child doesn't need one-on-one support during a child-directed time. Then we can just keep an eye on that child and give them a little bit more independence. Again, having that most independence as possible within the zone, even if there is an adult attached to that child, and continuing to work with your coach as you get new ideas from other classroom engagement model trainings. So here's an example of what it might look like on your zoning chart. The first example, we see Tasha does need support during every activity to be safe and engaged. And so the teachers are actively planning to decrease support over time, but for now, they rotate which adult is supporting Tasha. Helps with staff burnout. It also helps Tasha learn to generalize. She also learns to feel like a full member of the classroom because all adults interact with her at different points during the day. And then in example 2, you can see that she's become more independent and appropriately engaged during choice time. So they no longer zone for her during those times of day, but we do have a person that's keeping an eye on her as she's coming and going in and out of those centers to make sure that she's still going to be safe and successful. So here are your next steps. You can go ahead and find the Getting Started with Zoning handout. It's on the Share site in the Zoning tab. And you can take a look at the routines within routines within routines for one zoning routine at a time. And then take a look at how do we want to assign roles? Where will people be? What will they be doing? Of course, it's really important that this is a conversation in your team and not something that one person is making the decisions and telling everyone else, unless you have really limited time. And then you might get a draft going as one. Maybe the lead teacher has a little more planning time and gets a draft going and then asks for feedback. But in the spirit of teaming and collaboration, we want to make these decisions together as much as possible. And thank you for tuning in for this CEM Top 10 on Zoning.